You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, Young and the Restless fans, I've got your weekly prediction edition. We're going to talk about Victoria's drastic move and Sharon fighting for her man. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we've got predictions for Victoria and Cole, for Kyle and Claire, for Holden and Audra, for Dumont and Kane Ashby, and for Sharon, Nick, and Phyllis. And if you're not following us, please reach down, click that subscribe button. Let's dive right into it. Our first prediction, Victoria wants to marry Cole. So on Tuesday, spoilers have a decision made. It's something about her and Cole, something that Victoria decides. And of course, Claire and Victoria were really worried about Cole when he got so super sick, possibly from something he picked up while traveling overseas. He went and sequestered himself over at the GCAC so he didn't make them sick. We haven't heard about a diagnosis that I remember. He's still recovering, and obviously they put him over there and just promptly forgot about him because we haven't seen him since then. And for a minute, you had to wonder, is Young and the Restless about to kill off Cole? We recently did a video on whether there might be a deathbed wedding for him and Victoria. And even if he doesn't die, this whole thing may have scared Victoria enough to make her realize, I love him. I don't want to waste any more time. I want to remarry Cole because she is making a decision about their relationship. I mean, another option could be that Victoria decides to break up with Cole, but that would be completely out of nowhere. It wouldn't make any sense. That doesn't mean Y&R won't do it. They do things that make us all scratch our heads, and we hardly ever see Cole, so never say never. Still, I suspect Victoria may bring up the idea of marriage to Cole soon. She might even go ahead and propose to him, and Victor's supposedly on board, so maybe he'll let them get there happily ever after. Our second prediction, Kyle goes behind Claire's back. So in the weekly promo, Claire's telling Kyle she doesn't like this plan that he's told her about to get closer to and trap Audra and get some info from her. Claire says the more she thinks about Kyle's plan, the less she likes it. And by Friday, a decision that Kyle makes is really worrying Diane. So Kyle, of course, wants to get closer to Audra so he can push her buttons enough to make her crack and give Kyle info on her new company, Vibrante, which, by the way, does not even exist. So she's like, oh, I'm going to do all these groundbreaking things. She doesn't even have a company. There's no case to crack there. Claire doesn't like this, though, because Kyle getting closer to Audra means he's getting closer to someone he had a steamy past with that may make her feel a bit insecure. Claire also just may not like the scheming, ruthless side of Kyle that Audra brings out in him. And it definitely looks like Claire wants Kyle to let this go, but he might not be able to. But he may tell Claire, okay, I'm going to drop it, but then Kyle goes behind Claire's back and still tries to shake the information out of Audra, which might be having Kyle play right into Victor and Audra's hands because Victor told Audra she has to break up Kyle and Claire to get the money for that company. So this may all dovetail right into that spoiler about Diane worrying for Kyle's decision making. And if Kyle does lie to Claire, well, she might walk away from him. Victor might win this. We've seen Claire dealing with her plotting Grandpa Victor. She doesn't like the ruthlessness. She doesn't like any of it. She doesn't want on her grandpa, but she's more tolerant of it because he's family. But I definitely think she's not going to tolerate it in Kyle. She's already telling him to stop it. If he doesn't stop it, there could be big problems there. Our third prediction, Holden gets really scary. So on Tuesday, we've got Holden grilling Kyle about Audra and their past. And on Thursday, Audra has to defend her actions to someone. Recently, Holden was trying to touch Audra's face and she slapped it away. He's not taking no for an answer. So she told Holden, look, we can't be friends. Audra told him he needs to just stay away from her, but he's clearly not backing down. He's still still wants Audra back, and he just won't stop pressing the issue. And remember, she told Sally that back in the day, she had to push Holden out of her life because he was too intense, kind of an insane risk taker, basically a bit crazy. So Holden may turn around and grill Kyle, trying to find out how he hooked up with Audra. So maybe Holden can try a similar approach. He's just being a real stage 3 creeper. And then Audra has to defend her actions. So Holden may go too far, pull something, and Audra may have to explain herself to Nate. Our fourth prediction, Aristotle Dumont, is Kane Ashby. We've talked about this before, but it looks like he is about to hit town very soon. There's just a few several red flags, actually, more than a few, teasing that the true ID of Aristotle Dumont could be Kane Ashby. Kane left 6 years ago, and Dumont has been operating for 6 years. Since 2019, the timing aligns perfectly. This Dumont thing and this guy, it ties back to the whole Count of Monte Cristo theme, if you don't remember from your literature class in high school or college, whenever you had to read the book. It aligns a lot to Kane's past, where he got roped into a scheme. Colin Atkinson, his dad, who's played by Tristan Rogers, who's absolutely fantastic. He was married to Jill, and Colin had forged some documents as part of Kay Chancellor's will that basically took all the money away from Devon and gave it to Kane. And then Colin basically was trying to make it out like Kane was a co-conspirator, but he insisted that he wasn't. And in the book, Dantes reinvented himself as a wealthy, powerful man. And of course, Kane left town under this cloud after the whole taking all the billions. And he may have similarly reinvented himself as Dumas. And in the book, Dantes came back to reward those that were loyal to him and to punish his enemies. And in this case, it could be to reward Lily, who Kane loved, and reward Devon, who was done dirty when Kane's dad, Colin, faked those pages from Kay's will. Also to reward Jill, who really loved Kane, even though he lied about being her son, and she wound up seeing him as a son. And if you don't remember, Amanda was involved with all this will stuff back in 2019. She was actually representing Chance Chancellor, right, way back then. And because he came in wanting a share of the money because he was actually Kay's great-grandchild, at any rate, one of her heirs. So Billy Flynn could absolutely be playing recast Kane Ashby. We will find out very soon because Amanda is in town as the front woman for Dumont, and she clearly knows who it is. She's known Kane for 6 years, basically back from when she first came around. Our fifth and final prediction, a Sharon, Nick, and Phyllis love triangle. And I even hate to say it because I'm not a fan of love triangles, but there's a spoiler photo of Sharon looking over the moon happy when Nick shows up to see her at Crimson Lights, but he may be there to talk about Phyllis. So last week, Sharon and Phyllis were in the park. Nick was there, and there was this whole vibe that Phyllis was jealous of Sharon having had that recent vacation with Nick and family and their connection, and Sharon seemed kind of jealous of Phyllis's connection to Nick. Clearly, he still cares about Phyllis and Sharon both, but there's just seems to be a competitive vibe coming out again with them, which it's tired, it's old. Plus, last week, Nick found himself in familiar territory, which was, of course, him comforting Phyllis when she's falling apart. And her falling apart will consume a lot of Nick's time. That may make Sharon jealous. So we could be getting back into triangle territory, but gosh, I hope not.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.